We just saw Transcendence, and the way this show works is we will talk briefly about the movie, whether we liked it or not, without any spoilers, and then we'll kind of call a cut, and past that point, if we want to get into more details, we will. If it sounds like a movie that you want to see, that's the point to switch it off, because we will get into spoilers and start talking about things that you may want to save for your actual experience seeing the movie. That is, if you decide to see it. For myself, I didn't care for this movie. I wanted to like it. It's beautiful. It looks great in IMAX. It's the same director, or not the director, but the
director of photography.
Yeah, the DP from a lot of the Christopher Nolan movies, including the Dark Knight trilogy. He directed it. Those parts of it are great. The script is terrible. It's terrible from a the science is all messed up perspective. It's terrible from a we don't really have believable characters. We have people that just sort of serve the convenience of the plot and change their mind on a dime and just sort of do whatever the story structure tells them to do. It's just not. It's not a very successful movie. It's not a very. It doesn't tell me a story I haven't seen better before, and it also seems to just go on and on and on forever. It seemed like even the simple getting to the point where he was the machine, which they show you in the trailer, happens. To me, it felt like Act 1 was about an hour long. It just kept going and kept going. So I don't recommend this movie. It felt like it just felt like there was potential here, and they just didn't really go anywhere with it.
Yeah, I feel kind of the same way. It's for me, lots of premise, lots of cool setup, even though it's been kind of tried and done before. Moments of it feel like, oh, cool, it's like Skynet, but without Terminators, and you kind of need that exciting thing in there.
Yeah.
I did like it, but for me, it unraveled in the third act, and that's where it all kind of fell apart for me.
Yeah.
It just became silly.
We'll get into after the
we're not going to spoil anything right now, but
yeah, it did.
It was interesting. I would say it was good, but not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree a little more with Cal. I didn't hate it. There was a lot of potential that was probably missed. There was a lot of there's some good sci-fi ideas in there that didn't get fleshed out as much as it could have been. So it wasn't anything groundbreaking in that respect. So, you might want to give it a pass. It kind of depends upon your tolerance for hand wavy technology science, which I kind of have a high tolerance for, but it was pushing it sometimes.
So that's the quick fix. If you want to go see the movie, now's the time to turn off the video, come back and watch this after you've seen it. For those of you that this doesn't sound like a good idea for, or you just don't care if we spoil the movie, so I made the joke about, there's the Garfield without Garfield cartoon where people Photoshop out Garfield and it makes it look like John's completely insane. This with the director, or the photography director of all the Christopher Nolan movies, it felt like a Batman without Batman movie. You've got all the cast, you've got a lot of the same shooting style, a lot of the same kind of sound cues, but just no story. There's very little mystery or very little intrigue. So sort of my list of issues basically comes down to the first act. It seems like it took forever for them to get to where he was the machine. And they did that, and it seemed like they were doing that in a really deliberate way to show that, to make everything seem possible, to make it seem feasible, like they're taking baby steps. And then there is a card that comes up that says 2 years later. Yeah. And after that card comes up, he is basically God. He can do whatever he wants. He has nanotechnology that can fix people and control their brains and make cyborgs and do whatever he wants to do. Which, as a sci-fi movie, that's fine. But it completely changes the dynamic of the movie at that point. And then in the third act, it's basically like they should have pulled the plug on him. They knew they should have pulled the plug on him, but the wife is unwilling to do so. She's the one that takes him out into the desert and helps him become the monster.
Yeah.
And then she realizes that he's a monster, and she ultimately goes and unplugs him. And then the movie tries to
Or thinks that he is.
The movie tries to play it both ways.
Because like
It tries to have it.
Yeah, exactly. There was like certain intense scenes where it's like, who the hell am I supposed to be rooting for? It doesn't, like, the narrative didn't feel
So,
like...
according to the movie, we got faked out. He wasn't really a danger.
Yeah.
He wasn't really a danger. We
think he's going to be like
afraid.
Skynet.
Right.
He's not got those intentions
we
at all.
We got too afraid, and
Spoiler.
it's like if they actually made an AI out of Bill Gates. Like, Bill Gates is actually like a humanitarian and like is trying to cure diseases and
Bill Gates
things
without
like that.
Windows.
Yeah.
Or without early Windows.
Well, it'd be like Windows 24, like
Right.
whatever AI
It's
he's
transcended.
running. Yeah. So I just like that 2 years later thing, and then everything that happened after that point, it was like this is a whole nother movie. Like we were talking science and philosophy, and then we were like it was sort of like in The People versus Larry Flint, like that whole section where they just like do painkillers and live in a hotel room for like years.
Right.
Like that's basically what the movie devolves into for like the second act. And you're thinking like, okay, it's possible that like the computer gets that smart in 2 years and can do,
Intriguing though. It's like, what would a constantly growing artificial intelligence become like given 2-3 years of its own abilities to...
Yeah, and I kind of feel like that's the prime thing they wanted to tell is what would happen in the second and third act, and they had to find a way to get there. And then one of the ways to get there was like, well, let's just skip ahead 2 years, which is weird because then it's like, were these, was this terrorist organization really just sitting on their ass for 2 years? It was hard to swallow that part of it.
That part of it's weird. The government is essentially the one dude.
Right.
It's the one guy, and
and like 5 special ops guys.
The only things they really use the internet for is for him to escape at the beginning. But then once they build the super lab, like they never show him manipulating a city. They never show really take advantage of.
It's a local client from there on in.
Yeah. It's all just like people have to go to him to get healed and to go to his facility.
Yeah.
It's this weird, like really insular.
Well, that's where he's got all his Wi-Fi connected nanocarbon tube things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I threw all of my I know what technology's
What's
like.
the phrase? Suspensive belief? Suspensive.
Yes.
Yeah, you need lots and lots of that.
I threw that completely out the window when she plugged an Ethernet port into a satellite dish.
Right.
And that was how he escaped, and he escaped in like 5 seconds.
I was thinking, what an amazing broadband connection they're gonna have, right?
No shit.
I've
seen satellite connections. They're not.
No, it was satellite. And that's an upload, by the way. An upload over satellite is like 2,400 baud. Like it's the slowest upload. Anyway, suspension of disbelief, firmly in place, and still
for lots of reasons,
still just couldn't. It couldn't work for me. The other thing, and I know I realize I've been piling on this movie, but the performances. Just no.
I thought they were okay. Nothing amazing, but I thought they were okay.
Johnny Depp was bad. He was just really, like, even before he was the computer, he was just completely...
Just calling it in kind of thing.
Okay.
I thought Paul Bettany was the best.
Die. He was good. He was decent. The lead...
Rebecca Hall?
Yeah, she did okay.
Yeah.
She did all right. But a lot of the other people were wasted. The Scarecrow from Batman series was wasted.
Just saying lines.
Morgan
Freeman was just
saying lines. There's a lot of weird people standing with sunglasses, which like takes away all acting. It's just basically like you can't tell what they're thinking when they have sunglasses on. And the gal from House of Cards.
Is it Mara Rooney? Something like that?
I don't think that's who it is.
Oh, okay, anyway. The chick from House of Cards, yeah.
That might be her name. She's just sort of...
There.
She's just sort of there. Like, you never really believe that she's like this militant anti-technology terrorist.
Yeah.
They never really sold me on that. And they never really sold me on, like, the Stockholm Syndrome guy, like...
For 2 years!
and he's like...
Still
and then he's like, all right.
Finally, yeah.
All right, let's
He's a
make
believer
a virus.
at that point, though, you know?
Here's how we do it.
He's read the instruction manual at that point, right?
She's like, we need to move closer. 2 years later.
They're still hanging out.
Yeah,
They're hanging out in a desert bunker.
I guess I'm not.
That reminded me of the
anymore.
first Star Trek movie with J.J. Abrams, where that guy was like just hanging around for 25 years for Spock.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the government, despite all their abilities, just went with this, aligned themselves with the terrorist group to deal with this, I guess. Okay.
Yeah.
Which I think that I can kind of buy. Because that's
They're trying to
I
keep it on the
can
DL.
see like a government MO of being just like you said in the movie. We're gonna work with these guys because they're our fall guys if it all goes to shit. So in that case, I think that's a very FBI CIA kind of thing to do is have a small team to.
Well, I mean, like
to cover their ass, basically.
Yeah.
And to play the devil's advocate, like to play the other side. Like I was waiting for, they kept talking about how eventually he was going to have to convince the world that he was a force for good, and I kept waiting for like they were showing him healing the people and the people were coming to get healed and all of that, but I was waiting for like the propaganda machine to show up. Like I was waiting for them to start showing newscasts and Senate hearings and that kind of a
we never
the scope never
we never got to see like
once
the
we're in
world's
the desert,
reaction.
it doesn't really leave that, does it? Except for some shots.
We only got to see a very
and that
focused amount of.
I think that was the most disappointing part of it for me was that
the scope.
The scope.
Yeah.
It never got bigger than a data
The trailer
center.
makes it look huge, but it's not really, is it? It's mostly in the desert.
It's never bigger than the data center. Like, if you've ever been to a data center...
Lots of that going on.
There you go. That's the movie.
And
this is a quantum data center.
Yeah, solar panels.
Yep.
Lots of solar panels.
Guy from Birdemic made a lot of money selling them solar panels. Well, thanks for watching our review. Check out the rest of them here on YouTube, and all of our written reviews and other movie video reviews are at dalemaxfield.com. Thanks for watching.